Earlier this month, Elisa, an Australian federal court found that pop singer Katy Perry's merchandise line infringed on the trademark of a fashion designer who uses the name Katy Perry, but spelled Katie, to sell her clothing line. Oh, so close. In a 15-year trademark battle that the presiding judge Brigitte Markovic called A Tale of Two Women, Two Teenage Dreams, and One Name. That was a quote from the ruling. The court found that the pop star's clothing lines, Katy Perry and Kitty Purry, infringed on I.E. Katy's trademark.
What?
Yeah. It's an important sort of cautionary tale that I think, even though we don't have merchandise lines in the same way that Katy Perry does, I think it is a nice opportunity to kind of, I'm hearing some echo from Elisa's thing. Can we put the echo cancellation back on for her, just because that's going to throw me off all day long. So it's Elisa, you and I, we've spoken on the show about kind of the importance of getting a trademark in your name as a creative professional, right? And, making sure your band name is available. If you're performing under a band name, to make sure you get that registration in certain trademark classes related to music, such as Class 41, Entertainment Services, and Class 9, which is about putting out physical CDs and digital downloads and things like that. Those tend to be the first sort of trademark classes that we think of as a creator in that, I'm going to be a creator. These are the trademarks I have to get registered in my name. But if you have ambitions to do other things with that name that are music adjacent, such as putting out a merchandise line, maybe t-shirts or hats, caps, sweaters, what have you, then you want to start giving some thought as early as possible to getting the trademark registration in those goods and services classes as early as possible, and preferably before somebody else nabs that name from you.
Yep.
So you don't end up like our dear friend Katy Perry. And so the path that I often recommend to artists in this space is if you're out there, you're making music, or you're any kind of creator, right? And you're performing under that name and you have a trademark for that name in entertainment services, the moment that you give some thought to maybe I could consider someday in the future doing something in merchandise, that is the time to start being actionable about seeing if the name at which you perform is available in those categories. You talk to a lawyer, they can do a trademark search, both domestically and internationally, to see if your name is available in trademark classes related to, say, apparel, shirts, hats, things like that. And so even if you're not going to start creating that apparel tomorrow, or maybe you're not selling it already, you can at least start the process. So the Trademark Office has something called an intent to use trademark application, where you can basically reserve a name, where you file the name and then you say to the Trademark Office, I'm going to use this name within the next 6 months. And as long as you do, you can get the trademark. And you can file for extensions for that up to 3 years. So in theory, if you know you're going to put out merchandise within the next 3 years under that name, you can file an intent to use application now and then create that product at some time in the next 3 years. And here's the other thing that a trademark search can do for you. It's possible that somebody else is already using your name in apparel, as happened to Katy Perry. That's a good thing for you to learn now before you go out and start selling merchandise under that name and getting yourself sued. And by the way, it's not the worst thing in the world if somebody is using your name in apparel. There are plenty of examples of artists out there who are creating very successful merchandise lines under different names than their performer name. I mean, Rihanna comes to mind, and there's about 1 million others. And there's nothing wrong with that. But that's a good thing for you to know now before you start investing a lot of money in creating merchandise under a name that might not belong to you because somebody else owns it.
This is a cautionary tale brought to you by a video game that I absolutely love that can have all sorts of merch except clothing because of the exact same issue.
Is that right?
Yep. There is a music game that I love and may have featured in my dissertation that, if you notice, their merch that may or may not be available for purchase is picks and strings and guitar straps, and there is nary a t-shirt or tank to be found because they can't do apparel because someone else has the apparel trademark for the name of that video game. So I can't get my favorite video games t-shirts.
That's pretty wild.
Unless they're given away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild. And does not surprise me that something like that can happen. What a lot of, going back to intent to use trademarks, what a lot of these superstar artists tend to do, if they have, if they're superstars and they're, they catch lightning in a bottle or whatever, you'll see this if you go onto like the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website. Like, go look up, one of these like just brand new artists that's, caught lightning in a bottle, super famous, somebody like Olivia Rodrigo. I'm guessing if you type Olivia Rodrigo into the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website, you're obviously going to see a trademark registration for entertainment services that's active. But you're probably going to see about a bajillion filings that are intent to use in almost any category that you could think of that an artist might want to get into in terms of merchandise. Hats, shirts, stickers, posters, aluminum siding, whatever it is, right? You're going to find a inordinate number of intent to use trademark applications where Olivia Rodrigo's or any of these artist teams goes, we're not making stuff in this yet, but we're gonna soon. Let's make sure that the name is available and let's, file the intent to use application to kind of set our place in line for it now, so that when the Olivia Rodrigo brand mufflers come out, we already got the rights to it.
I mean, when it comes to brand partnerships, if she came out with a whole brand of driver's license holders, steering wheel covers, I mean, it would work.
It's obvious. I mean, if we just thought of this, like, naturally, Olivia's team is all over it.
When you're driving alone past his street, you can have the Olivia Rodrigo brand steering wheel fuzzy cover.
So when you were driving through your boyfriend's house in the suburbs, sobbing, you need to be sobbing into your Olivia Rodrigo branded steering wheel cover.
Yes, because and make sure that you have your Olivia Rodrigo brand safety bags, your airbags installed, because why? It's brutal out here. That's But yeah, it happens all the time, and honestly, with like smaller creators, this has happened in the beauty space where there are beauty creators that have kind of dipped their toes into things like loungewear and stuff, and they've created gear. And there are other smaller creators that have done the thing in loungewear before, established a name, but because someone with a bigger name got the trademark, tough cookie.
Oh, yeah. That kind of stuff can absolutely happen. And so you see a lot of these superstar artists who are very proactive about getting a bunch of these intent to use applications, under the sun, to avoid the exact same thing that you're talking about there, Lisa. That being said, for indie creators, it really is a question of kind of balancing and finding the best use of your resources, because these applications aren't cheap. An intent to use trademark application is going to run you about $250 to $350 per mark per class.
Oh.
And for every 6-month extension you want to file, because you don't get that product out there in 6 months, I think that's going to set you back like another $100 or $150. So, this is an investment. And so I've had clients, by the way, who will say, oh, we want to, we need a registration in deodorant and mufflers. And I tell them, like, are you actually going to create mufflers in the next 6 months, in the next 3 years? And so we try to bring them back down to earth, figure out what the more likely registrations are, and start with those first. And then if they have more resources later, move into, car parts and whatever else they want.
So you're saying I shouldn't do Crimson Echo's aluminum siding?
You absolutely should. It is a natural progression for your band's product line. I would not put any other siding on my house.
Actually, a Crimson Echoes would be good with a battery company, since our hit is called Don't Stop. So
there you go. I love it.
Battery,
I'm gonna,
aluminum siding.
just log on to the trademark office, see if we can swat on that. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to talk even more about Elisa's amazing audiobook projects that are coming out. We also have some other funny hijinks. We're going to talk about summer games done quick, and we're going to continue to be insufferable about the Heat and the Panthers. Don't go anywhere. Break the business. We'll be right back.
Heat in 3.